In this video, I'm going to give you an overview of long-term disability benefits in Ontario. I'm going to start with some basic background information on long-term disability. I'll then move on to the sources and types of long-term disability benefits. And then at the end, I'm going to cover how you go about getting benefits, applying for them. So after watching this video, you'll have a basic understanding of how long-term disability works in Ontario, the benefits that are available, and how you can go about getting them. Let's dive in. Let's get started. So part one is long-term disability basics. I'm going to cover four issues here, or four questions, I guess. Number one is going to be, what is long-term disability? How does it work? What medical conditions qualify for disability? And finally, the difference between own occupation versus any occupation disability. So let's get started with what is long-term disability. Long-term disability is a financial payment made to people who become unable to work because of an illness, disability, or medical condition. The long-term disability is usually a monthly payment that comes to you. It can be anywhere from 60% to 85% of your pre-disability income. And the sources of these payments are typically going to be from a government agency, an employer, a nonprofit organization, or even an insurance company. Now, these payments can usually can go for a certain amount of time and often will go to age 65. So how does long-term disability work in Ontario? So with long-term disability, the first step is to identify what programs you may be qualified to get benefits from. So you will have to review these programs and pick the ones that may apply to you. Then you need to follow the process that each program has to apply for benefits. You would send in forms and an application. They will then make a decision on whether to approve or deny your claim. If they deny your claim, there are ways with each of these programs that you can appeal to try to overturn that decision. If you get approved, benefits will be paid as long as you continue to meet the definition or requirements of that program for disability and any other requirements that they may have. What medical conditions qualify for long-term disability? This is a very common question that people have. Now, I want you to know that the medical condition is not as important as the disability arising from the medical condition. Long-term disability benefits providers don't really approve or deny claims based on your diagnosis or your actual condition. Rather, they'll look at the disability arising from that condition and whether the condition is at the current time giving you enough disability and impairment that would make you unable to work. Just as a quick example, everyone would agree that multiple sclerosis is a serious diagnosis. However, there are many people with multiple sclerosis who for quite a long time are still able to work. So simply getting that diagnosis does not mean that you will meet the requirements for disability under any of the programs that I'm going to discuss in this video. What is the difference between own occupation versus any occupation disability requirements? It's important to understand that most disability plans will cover you only if you're unable to do any type of work out there in the economy. There are situations, though, where some plans will cover you as long as you can't do your own occupation. So as long as you are unable to do your own occupation, you can be covered by benefits for a certain period of time or sometimes completely until age 65. So in every situation, you will need to figure out the plan that you're applying to. What definition of disability are they focused on? Is it disability from your own occupation or is it disability from any occupation? Part two. Now I'm going to talk to you about the sources and types of long-term disability benefits in Ontario. It's important to know that there are three sources of benefits, and I'll list these for you now. Number one, you have insurance companies. Number two, you have the province of Ontario. And number three, you have the government of Canada. Let's start by reviewing all the types of benefits you can get from an insurance companies, and then we'll move on to the other. So with insurance companies, there are three types of benefits or categories of benefits that you can get. Number one are individual insurance policies. These are disability policies that are sold to you individually, usually from a broker, that will cover you in the event that you become unable to work because of a medical condition, illness, or disability. You will have had to buy these yourself. That's the only way to get this type of plan. But if you have it, it's a great plan and will cover a large proportion of your income, often to age 65 or sometimes even longer. Now, the second type of benefits that you can get from insurance companies are group insurance benefits. Group plans are common in workplaces. So to have this type of plan, usually you're going to have it through your employment, through your workplace. So if your workplace has like a dental plan, medical plan, covers drugs, that kind of thing. It may also include short and long-term disability benefits. This is something you're going to want to look for. But again, to have this type of plan, you must usually be an employee with an employer who offers these types of group benefits to workers. Sometimes these are available through a union or other professional association, but most often it's going to be through your employment as a worker. Now, the last type of benefit through insurance companies are called special purpose plans. There's not really a great name for them, so they're kind of lumped into this. These are something that people sometimes overlook, but they would include things like creditor insurance. This is long-term disability benefits attached to a loan or mortgage or something that you have with the bank. So you always want to check to see if you have that type of coverage. Number two, there is something called critical illness coverage or in critical illness insurance. This is a type of long-term disability benefit that will pay a one-time payment to you if you get diagnosed with a specific medical condition. It's usually a specific medical condition or diagnosis. There's a list of diagnoses, and this is the case where if you get the diagnosis, you will be able to get the payment. The next type is something called dismemberment insurance, similar to critical illness, but it only pays if you suffer an injury where you lose a finger, an eye, or it's usually linked to some kind of body part that goes missing or becomes non-functional. Again, you get a one-time payment, and that's usually it. But these kind of benefits will often be attached to group plans, but sometimes you can buy them individually, but it will usually be part of a group plan. We also have travel insurance. That is something you may buy if you travel outside of the country. It may be attached to a visa, but this type of insurance will reimburse you for medical expenses that you incur while suffering an illness or hospitalization abroad. So those are the types of benefits, long-term disability benefits that you can get from insurance companies in Ontario. All right, let's move on to the second part here, or the second category, or the second source. Get confusing myself. The second source here is going to be the province of Ontario. Now, the province of Ontario has two programs that pay long-term disability benefits. The first is the Workplace Safety and Insurance Board, also known as WSIB. This is a program that specifically pays long-term disability benefits for work-related injuries. So to qualify for this plan, you must first be working for a covered employer in Ontario, and second, you must suffer a work-related injury. If you do, these benefits are fantastic. If you can get them, they'll cover up to 85% in some cases of your income and can go to age 65. Now, the second program in Ontario is the Ontario Disability Support Program, commonly referred to as ODSP. This plan is available to anyone in Ontario who's a resident and who meets the financial and medical requirements. The unique thing about ODSP is that it's not just focused on disability. You must also prove that your family income is below a certain threshold or amount and your assets are below a certain amount, or you won't be able to get benefits even if you can prove that you have the required level of disability. This is unique. It's the only program that I'm going to talk about that will assess your family finances and your household assets and income as a factor in determining whether you get benefits. The third category of benefits, or the third source of benefits, in Ontario is going to be from the Government of Canada. The Government of Canada has a couple of programs that pay long-term disability or benefits that are similar to that. Number one, and the most well-known, is the Canada Pension Disability Program. This is administered through Service Canada, and it pays monthly disability benefits to eligible people. To be eligible for these types of benefits, the Canada Pension Disability benefits, you must have made recent payments into the Canada Pension Plan. Now, the only way you would have done that is if you were a worker and paying into the program through a paycheck. Or if you were self-employed, you would have had to remit those into the Canada Pension Plan. It's not possible to go back afterwards and try to pay into it. You must have already paid into it leading up to the time when you became unable to work because of a medical condition. So that's how you know. You can, if you're unclear if you've made enough contributions, you can contact Service Canada or go onto their website to see if you've paid in enough to qualify you to apply to that program. Now, the second program through the federal government is the EI, Employment Insurance Sickness Program. Most people are aware of the EI program that covers you if you're unable to work just because you've been laid off or whatever. But there is a sub-program there that focuses on people who can't work because of an illness or sickness. This program only pays for not a long period of time, only 15 weeks. It's meant to be a short-term coverage until you can be covered by CPP disability, which I didn't mention can go to age 65. So the purpose of EI sickness is to cover you in the period while you're waiting for CPP disability to be approved. It's up to 15 weeks, and it will pay around 55% of your weekly income up to a certain maximum. The last program through the federal government is what is called the disability tax credit. This is different from the others in that it does not pay you a monthly benefit unless it's involving a child, but for most adults, for all adults, it's not going to pay you a monthly benefit. How it works is that if you are someone who pays taxes and you have someone who is financially dependent on you, you can apply to have that person, you can have the dependent person apply for the disability tax credit. If they're approved, then you, as the person financially supporting them, get a tax credit off of your taxes. So you don't get a monthly benefit, you're just able to apply a tax credit when you file your taxes, and it may result in you getting money back if you've paid into taxes. If you've paid no taxes, there's no benefit to get back. It is only a rebate on taxes that you owe and pay. It is not a benefit that is paid otherwise. Part 3, let's look at how you go about getting long-term disability benefits. Now, I covered this briefly above when I talked about how it works, but let's go into a little more detail here. So first, this is just an overview, and I have other videos that go into more detail. You get long-term disability benefits in Ontario by filing a claim. That is what's commonly referred to as a claim or application for benefits. All the programs I mentioned above have their own procedures and process and forms for how you go about filing a claim, making an application for benefits. But basically, they all work the same. You're going to get application forms from them, forms that you fill out. There'll be a form that your doctor fills out, and in some cases, a form your employer needs to fill out. You get these forms filled out, you send them back into the insurance company, the government agency, your employer, whoever the source of these things is, and they will process those forms and assign a person who will be a claim representative. It's usually what they're called. That person's role is to review your information, gather any more information they need, and they will make a decision to approve or deny your claim. Now, once the claim administrator, claim representative, whatever they're called, once they make a decision, if it's not in your favor, if they deny your claim, all of these programs have the ability for you to appeal. Appeal just means that it's a formal process where you can have the decision reviewed and hopefully overturned. So if you've been denied, you can appeal, have the decision reviewed, and they can reverse the decision and approve the claim. Don't get discouraged. Many people are denied on the initial claim and application and have those benefits approved afterwards. So you will always want to know what is the appeal process that I have to go through. Just like each of these programs has their own forms, they all have their own unique appeals process. Some of them are kind of loosey-goosey, not that formal, to very formal, and some of them have very strict deadlines that you need to meet. And if you miss deadlines on appeal, then you're done, even if you otherwise would be approved for benefits. That's it. Now you know the types of benefits available in Ontario and what it takes to apply for them. If you like this video, please hit that subscribe button and support us that way. Also, if you want to get access to our best tips and information that we don't always give away publicly, it's available to people who are subscribed to our email newsletter list. You can go over to resolutelegal.ca, our main website, sign up for our email list, and you'll get access to our weekly tips and information and invitations to other events and things that we only do for people who are subscribed to our newsletter. I wish you all the best, and I'll see you back here next time.